Hello and welcome back to another GCSE revision videos. Now guys, as we are in mock exam season, I want to go over a Christmas Carol. And more specifically, if you're doing your Christmas Carol mocks, either in October, November or December, I want to show you the 3 best points that you can use in any essay because they cover Dickens's main message. They also tie to context and they cut across any of the main characters that you'll be expected to write about. And of course, they tie back to the whole idea behind A Christmas Carol. Remember, when it comes to GCSE literature, the best way to do really well in Christmas Carol, and to be honest, in any of your set texts, is you always need to go beyond just describing. Christmas Carol is about Scrooge, who's really mean, and then at the end, he changes. You want to go beyond describing what happens in the plot. That's what majority of students are going to be doing in the mocks. And you want to go straight into analysis, straight into Dickens's message, straight into even things like context. And this is how to do so. And these are the 3 top points to use in any Christmas Carol essay. And I'll explain why they are so amazing. Regardless of the question, you should use them every single time, and this will impress your teachers, but of course it's also going to reflect really positively in the marks that you get in A Christmas Carol. Let's get into it. When it comes to A Christmas Carol, what are the 3 top points you should use and you should remember when you are going into your mocks for A Christmas Carol? Remember that, number 1, Christmas Carol, one of the central ideas, and this is even structurally demonstrated in stave 1 and stave 5, is Scrooge's redemption and transformation. In fact, one of the things that's really important to remember in terms of Dickens's central message in this novella is the idea of change. We obviously see Scrooge at the beginning. He is isolated as an oyster. He's miserable. He's completely alienated from society because of his greed. And of course, he is very reluctant to give to charity, to even give Bob Cratchit the 1 day off all year for Christmas. And by the end, he is a completely different person. He is completely transformed. When you start talking about how Dickens uses the novel structurally to demonstrate Scrooge's redemption arc, but more importantly, to show his moral journey through the novel and his moral journey to redemption. And then more broadly, you then talk about how Dickens does this, not only to show Scrooge's change, but to show that if we all change, not only are we capable of change, but we also will be redeemed in God's eyes. The moment you talk about that and tie it to Scrooge's change and his redemption and transformation, you are immediately putting yourself in grade 6, 7, 8, and 9 category. This is for Christmas Carol. So remember that regardless of whatever question you get, always talk about this idea of redemption and transformation. The story is all about change. And Dickens wants to show that change is possible for everyone. And what you always want to talk about is juxtapose, depending on whatever extra that you get, always juxtapose beginning versus the end. If you get something from towards the middle or the end, contrast it with something at the beginning. If you get something towards the beginning, contrast it at the end. But the moment you start doing that, not only are you showing this shift and this journey, this redemption arc that Scrooge follows, but you are going straight into analysis, you're going straight into Dickens's message. Now, the second powerful point to use in any Christmas Carol essay that you write is this idea of social responsibility and inequality. This idea is really powerful. Again, regardless of whatever question you get, regardless of whatever character question or whatever theme question that you get for Christmas Carol, you want to always mention how the story highlights the harsh realities of Victorian poverty. And Dickens makes a really important message that the wealthy must care for the poor. Dickens shows that this is their duty, the moral duty. And he uses the characters of the ghost to show what awaits the wealthy who are not charitable and who do not see the suffering of the poor as part of their social responsibility. They will end up like Marley, in purgatory, or even worse, in hell. This was obviously written for a very religious audience, okay? That's a really powerful point that you want to make regardless of the question that you have. And of course, if you're looking at this and you're like, This is helpful. However, how does that look like in an essay? I understand these points, but I struggle with putting all of this together in a really top winning essay. I want to get a 5, I want to get a 6, 7, 8, or 9. How do I do this? Don't forget that during half-term week, this is between the 27th all the way to the 2nd of November, so 27th of October, and specifically on the 28th of October, I'll be running a one-off Christmas Carol GCSE revision class at 5 to 6 p.m. In just 1 hour, not only am I going to be having a live class so you can ask me as many questions as you want, but I'll also be writing a full mark grade 9 model answer that you can use in your revision, and this model answer you can use for any Christmas Carol question that comes up, in addition to a 3-page cheat sheet that I'll be sharing with all of my students that has literally all of the characters as well as key quotations to relating to the characters and themes. So make sure you join in and you can ask me as many questions as you want during that half-term one-off lesson. Now, the third most important point you want to make with a Christmas Carol is when it comes to this idea of the spirit of Christmas. Dickens deliberately names it Christmas Carol. He sets it during Christmas time. And this is because the spirit of Christmas is used. He wants to use this as something, as an idea that runs through the novel. As he does this to show that the spirit of Christmas represents the idea of love, family, and generosity. And what he wants to emphasize, so remember, Christmas in and of itself obviously is a religious holiday, right? It's a Christian holiday. And Christmas is the time when Jesus, the Son of God, was sent by God generously to save all of us. That's what Christians believe, right? And so this act of love that God had for humanity and his generosity in giving his one and only son to us as Christians, who we then ended up sacrificing, right? And he ended up dying for our sins. Dickens wants to remind his very religious readers at the time in the Victorian era, who generally believed that, Jesus was sent during Christmas time. He wanted to remind them of this spirit that is manifest not only in the Bible, but it should also be shown and demonstrated through us. We too need to possess a similar spirit of generosity, of love for others, especially for those who are poor and poorer than us in society, okay? And so this theme is also really important, and this idea of the spirit of Christmas is also demonstrated when it comes to the idea of family. Remember that Scrooge is shown as being quite neglectful of his family. He's shown as not only giving up the chance of having a family with Belle at the beginning of the story, or rather in Stave 2, in when the Ghost of Christmas Past, shows how he gave up this future family he would have had with Belle in order to pursue wealth due to his greed. But also in Stave 1, when we see Fred inviting him to Christmas, we see that Scrooge completely neglects him and neglects his family. And Dickens also not only says we should show generosity to other people in society, but equally we need to cherish our family. They make us spiritually rich. They are a source of spiritual fulfillment to us. Okay, so remember that there's also this idea of family, and of course the theme of family is really, really important in A Christmas Carol. But you need to also remember that this idea of the spirit of Christmas, this notion of showing love to others, the idea of generosity, it's not only restricted to Christmas time, but this spirit of Christmas should also exist all year round. So as I said, these 3 points you can use for any Christmas Carol essay. And as I mentioned, I will be running a one-off Christmas Carol GCSE masterclass on the 28th of October during half-term week. And so if you have any questions, if you want to also see what a grade 9 model answer looks like for a Christmas Carol essay that you can use not only for your mocks, but also lots of students who were part of these masterclasses last year, not only use them in the mocks, but also use these model answers to revise for the final GCSE exams, then you're more than welcome to join in. And of course, as it's a live lesson, you can ask me as many questions as you want. So I hope this helped, and thanks so much for watching.